today, and hello everyone watching or listening. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm just happy to be again with you, taping a new podcast.
Let me jump right into it. You had a very interesting topic for today, which I'm
Mhm.
really looking forward to discussing. And the topic is that the skills that one usually needs in order to get promoted to become a team leader, the things that people see and say, hey, you're good, let's make you a team leader, are not necessarily the same skills that you need in order to actually be a good team leader.
Yeah,
What do you
exactly.
mean by that? What are you thinking about?
It's basically trying to create, to dissociate the hard skills from the soft skills. Most likely, you'll get promoted in your corporation because you are a very proficient person at your job and you have very good technical skills, which makes you very knowledgeable and dependable, and people can look to you to find answers and find ideas to progress with their work, and that makes you valuable for the team. And if you stick with that corporation, most likely they will try to reward you for your skills, and most easiest way to reward you for that is to promote you to team leader. Maybe you also want to be a team leader, and that's perfect alignment between your intentions and the corporation that is rewarding you for your contribution. On the other hand, in reality, to be able to successfully manage a team, you have to have a very elaborate set of skills, of soft skills. Yeah, you have to be able to
Mhm.
not only to be a great engineer and write great code, but you also have to be able to understand people needs, how to communicate tasks, how to delegate, how to take feedback and give feedback, how to uh, conduct a meeting, how to negotiate on behalf of your team with the team leaders, other team leaders, and other C-level persons from the company. So this is the main idea that I'm trying to present today and talk with you.
Do you think that happens a lot? Do you think it's like something that happens once in a while, or is it like a common problem in companies? In
From my
your
limited
experience?
experience, yeah, from my limited experience, from me working in corporation, and the people I talk with about how their life in corporation is, this is what's most likely happening. Uh, Maybe there are other corporations that are trying to promote in the leadership position people that have great soft skills, or maybe there are companies that are trying to train them with those soft skills right after they are getting into that position. But most of the time, what I believe is happening is that uh, a halo effect is created around you. You are a great professional. It's easy for you to do your job, so that automatically makes you a good team leader. So, which
Yeah.
is not true.
I
What's your experience on the topic? How do you feel about this?
I also think it's happening a lot. And I think it's, in a way, it's understandable. So it's one of those mistakes that's very understandable. It's not one of those things that managers do and you think, oh, that's really bad. It's easy to make this mistake because you need a team leader for whatever reason. Maybe the current team leader left the company or whatever. You need a team leader. And you're looking at the team and you have 5, 6, 7 people in the team. And you see one person in the team who is like the best professional in that team, the most experienced. They solve problems. They have the respect of the other team members. And it seems very natural to promote that person, right?
Yeah,
It seems natural. And it may seem obvious even to that person. They might even appreciate it. And then the rest of the team accepts it as well because they respect that person's skill and experience. And it seems like a perfect solution. And sometimes it is,
yeah,
but sometimes it isn't. And when
yeah,
it really doesn't work, nobody's happy because
yes,
that person is not a good team leader because the skills that made them good technically are not the skills that need to be a good team leader. So they get frustrated because they're used to
yeah,
being good at their job. No, they're not good at their job. The team is not
yeah,
happy because they don't have a good team leader. You lose a great technical person because that person now doesn't have all the time to dedicate on technical things. Now they have to be a team leader. And you, the manager who made the decision, are not happy because you lost a great technical person and you gained a mediocre team leader. So when
What
it
I've
goes
seen,
bad, it goes really bad.
yeah, exactly. What I've seen in companies, it's like a prerequisite that half of your time, or 25% of your time, or 75% of your time, it's also dedicated to the process. So even if you are a team leader, they are considering that 4 hours a day, it's more than enough for you to manage the team, even if the team is 20 persons. But you also have to be in the production as well, which is the first and biggest red flag you should notice in a company when they're working like this. You should understand that the company, it's working exactly like this. They are promoting good technical employees, but not necessarily persons that are able to manage the team effectively. And another big problem that I'm seeing here is that once you get to be a team leader, you kind of have the same level of expectations of your team as your previous boss or your management has of you. You are most likely the most performant, the best, and you want to say, yeah, because I'm the best, I will be able to make all the team members to be at least as good as me, or even you assume that they are at least as good as you, and you treat them as such. And when a problem appears that someone is underperformant or something, you wouldn't know how to manage that problem, because you say, why aren't you as proficient as I am? Why aren't you as I know to do this stuff? Why don't you know how to do this stuff? So you have to pay attention to this kind of problems that come from the bias that person has towards the process, not towards the person. So yeah.
Not the topic for today, but you said 20 people in the team. I just want to say that's way too much. One team.
I was exaggerating.
One team. Yeah, but exaggerating, but not, because I've seen examples like that, bad examples. One team, I think, should never be more than 7 or 8 people maximum. If you need 20 people, 30 people, 100 people, you need teams of teams and different structures. But one team should be under 10 people, ideally around 6, 7. But another difficulty these people face, in my experience, again, not all of them, but we're talking about like what could happen and what generally happens. There's exceptions, of course, is that the mentality of the individual contributor is very different from the mentality of the leader. The individual contributor solves problems themselves. If you're the best software developer in the team, and again, software developer is just an example. We're not talking about only software, it applies anywhere. You have a problem. Code needs to be written, a problem needs to be fixed, there's a bug, whatever. Your instinct is to go and fix it. You look, you understand, you know what the solution is, you fix it. When you become a leader, you fix problems more often than not through other people. So what you need to do is not necessarily use your direct experience. Like you go there and say, let me take a look, do this. You do that sometimes, sure, but most of the times you're trying to coach and mentor and whatever, delegate things to other people so they fix those problems. And just like you said, they will fix it probably slower than you would. They're not going to be as fast. They're not going to be as experienced because you're the most experienced. And you have to understand that and deal with that. But you have to do that because you can't continue to do everything yourself. This is one of the main problems I see when you promote someone from individual contributor to leader. They keep wanting to do everything themselves. And they get overloaded because as a team leader, you get called into all different directions. And you burn out.
That's definitely true. Obviously, that's true. And it's a huge danger that you have, and it's something that you wouldn't perceive at the beginning. You'd be excited, I'm a team leader now, I can do all this stuff, but actually you end up working more because you'll, exactly as you said, you'll start doing the work of the people that should do the work for you, and you do not have the skills to coach them So you say it's faster for me to solve this problem than to teach him to do it, which in reality, long term is going to affect you greatly. And now I want to look at the problem from above, from the upper management towards that team, for example. Most likely what's happening or what's expected of you as a new team leader is to produce results. And most likely you will, because you are performant and you want to do that, and which means that the top management will praise you for, oh, you have a great team, you are having great results, everybody is working, everything is fine, because you are focused on the process, on creating results. But in reality, you are compromising the well-being of your team. Instead of enabling your team to create those results, you are pressuring the team to create those results. You are putting, this is what management wants from us. You have to prove, we have to be the best, all this kind of bullshit talk, yeah, which should motivate the team members. Actually, it's detrimental for their well-being, and they'll feel pressured, not understood, not listened to, and they'll cause them to leave the company, maybe will cause them to silently resign and just do what's asked of them and nothing more.
Yeah.
So basically, you as a team leader, you want to enable your team to create results, not pressure them to create results. This is what I believe it would be the right approach.
You become a micromanager without wanting to become a micromanager. Yeah. You become a micromanager not because you actually want to control everything, but because you get involved in everything, because you feel like, hey, if only I take a look for 5 minutes, I'll tell you what the solution is. And I do this with everyone, and every time I go and I look over their shoulders and I help them get the job done. And I do that with the best of intentions. But the net result is that I micromanage them. They don't develop as fast because I don't give them the space and the opportunity to try things, to make their own mistakes, to learn from their own mistakes. And I burn myself out. And it's not a sustainable model, basically, at the end of the day.
And you teach your team members that they should rely on you and they should go to you for answers, and they should not take action by themselves, most likely because they will be criticized for the action they taken. Because if they're trying to solve the problem on their own and you say, no, there's a better way to do it, I will show you how you do it, it's going to kill their enthusiasm about the work they're doing. So that's a huge problem. But
in my...
I also... Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I just want to say quickly that I'll just say this very quick. In my view, at least, the sign of a good leader is that when they go on vacation for a couple of weeks, almost nothing changes in their absence, because they've developed a team that can do exactly as good or 90% as good of a job as if they were there for a period of time. The sign of a good leader is not that, hey, when I go there, I fix everything. That's not the point. Yeah. The point is that you develop a team that can be good even without you holding their hand every step of the way.
The way you started the idea, way you started the idea, I was guessing that you're gonna say it, that nothing happens, meaning that if you go on vacation, nobody works and nothing happens. But yeah,
that's
you're right.
Bad sign.
That's a bad side. It's a totally different.
It's a very bad side. Yeah,
and a totally different attitude towards work from your team, which you as a leader are at fault for. We have to admit that.
Yes.
The alternative, the most easy logical alternative would be to hire to promote into team leadership position the person who has the most soft skills, who is the most willing to play the corporate game and the politics game and try to be diplomatic and negotiate and takes care of the persons that is in the team, even if they are not a formal leader of the team. Some people take that responsibility for the well-being of their colleagues, trying to coach them, trying to help them, trying to listen to them when they have problems, etc., etc. Do you think this is the solution, trying to promote the people with the soft skills, even if they are not most technical person in the team? Or how do you see the solution for this problem?
So generally, I would say yes, but let me try to detail it a little bit. First, you said corporate game and politics. I understand what you're saying, I think, but I don't think that's a big component or such a big component at the team leader level. In order to be a team leader, like, you have a team of 5, 6, 7 people, you don't need to do politics or very little of it. So I don't think that's the key factor. It's not like you're hiring a CEO that needs to talk with investors and whatever. But definitely you need someone who has a perspective that understands the business. Like, sometimes there's business priorities. Sometimes we have to make decisions that are not the best from a technical point of view, but we have to make them because it makes sense for the business, or how to deal with clients and things like that. And I totally agree that you do not have to promote the most technically experienced and good member of the team. And but there's a thing you have to be very careful with there. If in your company culture there's a lot of prestige associated with the idea of being a team leader, and if that's the only way to get better salaries, if the pay structure in the company is that you cannot go above a certain level unless you become a leader or a manager, if you have these kinds of things, then you're creating a problem for yourself. Because obviously, if I'm a very good technical person, but I can only get paid this much, the only way to get paid more is to get managerial responsibilities. I will get managerial responsibilities, even if I like them or not. So I think you need to look at these things as well. And the team leader is not necessarily the best paid person in the team. I've seen many teams where we have very senior technical people which are paid way better than the team leader. And it depends on a bunch of factors. I don't want to get into that, but just to, And I've seen many teams where the most prestige is not necessarily with the team leader, because you have like a guru, a technical guru in that team that the whole company knows about that person. And it's not like, that person feels inferior in any way to the team leader, because the team leader is not like, oh, I'm better than you. It's just another kind of job. My job is to help you get organized. My job is to coach you towards not necessarily how to do your job in a technical way, but to coach you about how to communicate with each other, how to organize yourselves, how to interact, to facilitate your interactions with people outside of the team, to think ahead, to remove obstacles, to do all those kinds of things. And in that way, you could pick anyone literally in the team to be the team leader if they have the right skills. Usually don't do extremes, right? You don't pick the most junior person and make them a team leader, but
of course,
someone from the upper half promise of the team. And it's also a decision that the person needs to make. If you become a team leader, it's like a changing career. Sooner or later, you're going to forget your technical skills and you're going to gain new skills. You have to know that you're making that decision.
Most likely your skills will get outdated in a fast-paced company. You learn new stuff every day. So you as a team leader, not being focused on the process, you might lag behind your colleagues. I picked up on a couple of ideas from what you were saying, and one of this is business skills. I was framing the problem since the beginning in terms of technical skills and people skills, soft skills, but I think we can add to this equation business skills, because being able to, as you said, being able to understand how the company works, what forces are at place, what's the role of HR, what's the role of finance, what's the role of sport, and how all of them play together to create a successful business that delivers outstanding services or product for their clients. That should also be a factor, I guess. And I think you pointed to this in a discreet way, and I wanted to point it out to be clear for everyone. And that was something that I was didn't take in consideration when I started the conversation. And another important idea that you brought up, and I think we have to ask ourselves if this is the cause of all evil, is the money, the salary structure, meaning someone in HR or finance, HR and top level CEO decide, you have to go to the next level, next range of salaries. If you want to do that, you have to take managerial responsibilities. That is like something that's, as we were talking in a previous podcast, it's a decision that can have tremendous consequences towards regarding the company culture without you thinking that it would have that consequence. So do you think this is the primary factor that drives this kind of decision, to have a technical person because you want to reward them, and the only way to reward is to give them managerial responsibilities? Or do you think there are other?
I think it's up there. I think it's one of the most important ones. Again, in my experience, which is limited, like anyone's experience, I don't have like a massive study, but from all the examples I've seen, I would say that the two main causes are, one, the one we already discussed, which is just through good intentions. You need a team leader. You look at the people in the team and you pick the most experienced and the most respected. That's one of the main causes. And the other one is, yes, sometimes companies have a certain pay structure where if you want to pay someone above a certain level, or if they want to be paid above a certain level, they have to get into some kind of managerial role or another. And that's why one of the things.
Fair?
Fair, I don't know if it's fair or not. That's a difficult word, but I don't think it's smart. I think one of the very cool things Google did in the beginning. Now, in the meantime, Google made a lot of mistakes. We can talk about Google. But one very cool thing they had back in the day in 2000 or whenever, which was pretty radical at that point, was that they actually said they had one of the core principles, and it was on the website. At Google, you can get up to the vice president level purely technically, without any managerial responsibilities. Now, of course, purely technical also includes some soft skills, in the sense that if you are a very influential technical person, you need communication skills, at least. But that's one thing. The key thing was without managerial responsibilities. You don't have to have teams, manage departments, whatever. You're just a very impactful technical guru. And with your contributions and your ideas, you can make a massive impact. And that's fine. And you can get up to vice president level with that, and we'll pay you a lot and all those things. And you get all the respect and all the prestige and all that kind of stuff. And I think that was awesome. Yeah, I think that was great. I think that's the way to go about it. You have to have a technical path for people that goes really, really high. Of course, you cannot be the CEO of a company just with technical skills.
Yeah, of course.
But pretty high. It has to go pretty high.
That's really, really interesting. On one other hand, so just for me to make sure I understand correctly, two factors are at play. One is the salary structure, the payment structure, and the other is the need of the company to recognize the skills and the value of some employees. And the only way they can do that is to force them and push them towards managerial position so that they can get the money they deserve somehow. I know technical persons in IT industry that are very anxious, and it's really their life become exponentially harder once they have to manage a team, because it's not in their comfort area. They want the money, they feel like they deserve the money, they most likely do, but they have no other choice but to accept the team and take that responsibility, and which is like a huge burden on that person. And instead of valuing the skills that person has and let them do what they know to do best, you are forcing them to take extra responsibilities just so that they feel rewarded for the level of the contribution they bring to the company, which is like really bad.
I have a saying that I think that middle management in IT companies in Romania is one of the hardest jobs you can have. And I'm speaking primarily about IT because that's what I know, and also because so you're a middle manager, you're kind of a team leader, project manager, small department manager type of person. You're between, how do you say it, a hammer in a hard place. So from above, senior management and clients want results, and below you have people which are very aware of their market value. They do not accept the things you say just because you say them. You have to convince them. So it's very difficult. And if you need the right skills and you need to want to do that, or you're going to get burned out, and it's going to be a very bad experience for you. And
now the question,
no,
can you
go.
train for those skills? Do you think it's feasible to train for those skills? I've seen multiple models. Some companies, they do nothing, just throw you into the pit and say you are a manager now, handle it. Other companies, they give you like a short 1 week introduction trainings or 1 day or something. This is all you need to know about communication and people skills. And other companies have tracks for promotion. You 6 months, a year prior to your promotion, you get in a shadowing position, you start working with the manager, you try to understand how it works, something like that. So there are different levels of trying to train that person. How, from your experience, do this work, or it's more important are more important the skills you are already having, or your natural inclination towards people, that it's something that's less trainable, let's say?
So there's a very philosophical question here, which I don't have a definitive opinion on it, which is nature versus nurture. Are you born with it, or do you learn it? Are we born leaders, or do we become leaders? That's a different conversation. Maybe we should have an episode about that. But from a more practical point of view, I think you need to do all of these things as a company, as a system. So you need to look at the person before you promote them and see what skills they already have. The leadership skills, I mean, the soft skills, not technical skills, because that's a different conversation. And you also need to have a conversation with them to see how they see it. Do they want it? Do they understand what it means? Then you have to sort of do like a gap analysis. And I don't want to sound too bureaucratic. You don't have to go crazy detailed about it, but so you can do. You're pretty good at communicating with the team, and you're pretty good at organizing the backlog, but you don't have a lot of experience with planning, and you haven't done a lot of customer interaction. So you have these two things, but you need to develop these two things. And then you need to develop these things. And there's many ways to develop it. There's training. You can give them books to read, videos to watch. They're all good. But I think the best one is, like you said, if you can do some kind of, if your manager does with you some kind of coaching, you can do some shadowing, you can observe what they're doing. I think that works the best. And that doesn't stop. So you do some of that before you promote them. At some point, you get with them to a level that's good enough, not perfect, good enough, and you actually promote them. But the coaching and the mentoring continues from your manager. Okay, so now you're actually a team leader. Let me help you. Tell me what's working, what's not working. Let me do some shadow. That continues for a while, 3-6 months, just to make sure they kind of understand what's happening. And of course, it continues forever. But I mean that period of actually making sure that they're landing okay. So I think that works best.
But yeah, that would be an ideal scenario. But in my mind, it doesn't stick, because from my experience working with C-level, they are very focused on the results for their area in the business. Yeah, the finance has to cut costs, the HR has to recruit people, etc., etc., and they don't want to spend time. You are a manager already now. You have to know, do your job. How could I, Mr. VP in a company, waste time staying with you in call after call, trying to coach you on how you do your job, me managing you as a second or third level manager? So I think this is something that's related to culture. Some companies do not encourage top level managers take time to help the low level managers do their job. And since they are pressing results and expecting results from the lower level management, the lower level management has no other option than to perform and do it however they can do it, which can create those problems we were talking earlier. So
absolutely,
yeah.
And I guess it also depends how big the company is. In your example with the vice presidents talking to team leaders, that only happens in a small company. If the company is like thousands of people, the vice presidents are going to be in the stratosphere somewhere. So
division managers, for example,
multiple levels. But the other side, I think, you're right, it's about culture. So you need to decide as a company what you want to do. So if you're saying we're trying to promote people from the inside, And most companies I know that are successful, 80% of the promotions are internal. So when you have a management position that you need to fill, 80% of the time, it's not like a fixed number, but, majority of the time you promote from inside the company. Maybe someone from that team, maybe someone from another team, but from inside the company. Once in a while, you bring someone from the outside. Okay. Then the logic continues. If you promote someone from inside the company, can you expect those people to be 100% ready for the job? No, of course not. They cannot be 100% ready for the job if they haven't done the job. So it's only natural to expect that there's going to be a learning period, an accommodation period. And then,
and
again, as a company,
the company should plan for that.
You should plan for that, not only because it's nice and it's fair and it's decent, let's even put that to the side, but for your own self-interest. You don't want to promote all kinds of people who are not going to have the right skills to do a good job, because business is going to suffer. And you should plan for that. And the thing you describe, which is like, I'm a manager, I don't have the time to teach other people, you should already know how to do things. I know what you're saying, but I think that's not the way to do things in the long run. I don't think that works very well. My opinion, from my experience.
You should bring external coaches or have a special function in the organization that helps coaching those managers and free the time from top management. How do you?
So in my opinion, I think if you're the CEO, and I'm not the only one saying this, a lot of famous CEOs said this a long time, you should spend a lot of time on your people. They're the most important thing you have. And again, I'm not trying to be a hippie. Like, this is hard, cold business. You need great people. Otherwise, the business is not going to run. And I think there's no way around. Bring coaches, of course, bring training, but the main responsibility of a manager, one of the main responsibilities of a manager at any level, including CEO, is to make sure that they have good people and good teams and good leaders around them. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
I have only one more topic I want to bring to you on this subject is how I think it's a function. Promoting someone, it's a function of their capability to do their job, and it's easy to measure the technical results. How many lines of code, how many clients have you served, how many whatever. You can measure all of that stuff, but it's really hard to measure how well you understand and communicate with your team members or colleagues, or how well you communicate with your manager, how easy it's for you to negotiate stuff. So since you cannot measure this kind of soft skills, that's creating a barrier for you to be evaluated properly on those soft skills, which most likely happens through a 360 evaluation. Let's say what other people think of you. And if you happen to be a little annoying as I am, people will evaluate you poorly just because you have a direct way of approaching things and do not sugarcoat anything. So what I'm trying to say, is there a way that you can properly evaluate the soft skills so you can measure if a person is capable would be able to be a great team leader, or you just have to coach them and train them and then hope for the best?
So there's many ways to do it. Like you said, 360 is one of them, but they all have their problems. I think for me, the main way to do it is that you have to observe that person. You have to see them. And how does that happen practically? So everyone in a company has a manager, right? We all have a manager. And a manager should not have more than, again, 6, 7, maximum 10 direct reports. And because they have a relatively small number of direct reports, they should have the time to meet with them regularly, to observe them doing their work. Like, let's say I'm a department manager and I have 7 teams in my department, 7 teams, and the 7 team leaders report to me. That means that once every week, once every 2 weeks, I can attend a meeting from this team, a meeting from that team, and see how they're doing things. I have one-to-one conversations with all the team leaders. They tell me about their people. And in time, I get to know, not perfectly, but get to know most of the people in those teams,
Mhm.
at least the most senior people. So let's say now one of the team leaders leaves the company and I need to promote someone. It's not like I don't know anything about what's happening there. It's not like it's a blank, oh, who are you guys? I already kind of know who's in that team. I already know the senior people. I already know a little bit about their personalities. So I start from that. And I think that's the most valuable thing. Because it's like direct experience. It's
And
not
I
just
think,
a test.
yeah, and I think it's a very good method to try to observe people, employees, and try to assess if they would be a good team leader. But on the other hand, if you do not make this process publicly and explain it clearly to everybody, when you make a promotion, you're going to have three senior team members that are going to say, but I am way more qualified, I'm way more better, I'm doing so much more than that person is doing. How are you deciding who gets promoted or not? So you can do that, and I think it's fair to do that as long as you are transparent about it and you say you are looking also for other things than technical skills, and you're looking at interactions and how
Yes,
they.
absolutely. Yeah. So I
So yeah.
think this question of why did you promote this guy and not that guy, or what do you need or I need in order to get promoted to that position, or what is the company generally looking for people in those kinds of positions? You're absolutely right. It has to be transparent. It has to be public. It has to be even documented. It's something you tell them from the onboarding, from the interview. Like there
Yeah,
should be
exactly.
no mystery. Like, oh, I'm sitting here and I hope someone sees me and sees the good work I'm doing, and maybe it should all be very transparent and very honest. I think that's mandatory from many points of view, not only the thing we're talking about today. And
Yeah.
without that,
I,
we're going to have a lot of problems.
the problem I see here is that the most company claim that they are promoting people based on their performance. In reality, they are performing them based on their social skills and soft skills, and they are not communicating clearly that. And they are creating the illusion that if you are very good, you can be promoted. But in reality, they are looking at other factors that are harder to measure, as I was saying previously. And that's why it's harder to justify why you promote that person and not the most senior person. So,
Yes.
yeah, it was very insightful conversation. I learned a lot from you today. Thank you, Andrei.
Me too from you. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.